Um, for my observations in Psalm 42 and 43, I noticed that the psalmist is crying out for God. He has poured out his soul to God, and his soul was very downcast when the psalmist was writing this. When he was writing this, he did not necessarily know why his soul was so downcast. He had questions whether the Lord had forgotten him or not. And he felt very oppressed by the enemy, and he really wanted God to vindicate him during this time and the struggle that he was going through. I also noticed that he was wondering why God had rejected him. I'm not sure why the psalmist felt like the Lord had rejected him or anything like that, and I don't know if the psalmist even knew why he felt that way, but I did notice that he felt like he had been rejected by the Lord. I also noticed and thought it was very interesting that despite all that he had said at the beginning, he still said that he would praise the Lord. And he says that he will always put his hope in God, which I thought just was really a good example for us, that he still had that attitude at the end despite, what he was saying at the beginning of the Psalms. Some interpretations that I had reading through this, one was that the psalmist is upset over certain circumstances in his life, and he is struggling to see God throughout the circumstances that he is in. The second is that this is the psalmist's prayer about what is going on in his life, and he is crying out to God to help him with what he is going through. And the third is that the psalmist is wanting to spend more time in the presence of the Lord. He is feeling like things in his life are out of control, and he wants God to fix it. An application that I think all of us, especially as leaders, can put in our lives is, that because as leaders we cannot handle everything on our own, and sometimes being a leader is hard work to do. That is why we have to call upon the Lord to help us lead effectively and in a godly way. It is also why we have to call upon the Lord to help us when we are feeling overwhelmed with the work and leadership opportunities that are placed in front of us. I know it is very easy to get in those places where we do feel overwhelmed with the things that are placed in front of us, especially in a leadership position. And so, when we get in those places, we have two choices, and we can either let it overwhelm us, or, like it says in Psalm 91:61, we can be led to the rock that is higher than I when we are overwhelmed. And so I think that's really what the psalmist is doing here, is, going to the rock that is higher than he is, because he is overwhelmed, and he is just asking the Lord to help him with his circumstances. Even though they may be bleak and not look very good at the moment, he is asking the Lord to help him in those circumstances. And I think that that's a good example for us to look at as leaders, and for us to apply to our lives as leaders, and for us to show that to those that we are leading as well.